Hey everyone, it's so nice to be back with you. Luke and I are sharing this week. We don't have a guest because we want to share with you one of our favorite topics, concepts, practices that has dramatically changed our lives and the lives of so many of our clients. It is this idea of regulating your nervous system. And this is a huge topic, huge. We interweave it with every other thing we're talking about, honestly. And you can see it in everything we write about and what we talk about. But we're going to focus today on kind of the details and the mechanics of regulating your nervous system and the different states of your nervous system. So we're super excited. We're gonna try to make it as personal as we can. It's like what it feels like to us and kind of put words to it to make it more accessible for you. Also give a few different analogies that help people understand regulation better. And by the end of this episode, we're just sure that you're gonna have such a better picture of this world of regulation. Am I overselling?
No, I think that's our hope, at least.
That's our hope. You never think, Lucas believed in me. So the other day, this is a funny story. So the other day at a meal, I was like, you know, those little kids that think their dad could lift a house, they just have this perception of my dad's the strongest man in the world. He could beat anyone or he could carry anything. Well, I told Luke that I actually kind of feel that way about him, even though my cognitive brain as an adult is that's not possible. Everyone has a maximum of what they could carry. And he's not a power lifter. He's strong, he's tough, he's muscular, but he can't lift a refrigerator by himself. In my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, he can do it. He can totally do it. So I was just telling him that. And what did you say?
I don't remember.
You said that you ironically think I can do everything as well, but not in the physical strength sense, but oh, if you have an idea or a project, that you just have no doubt that I'll do it, even though that's not logical too, because I also have limits. But our kids were laughing about that.
Yeah, that was funny. It was good.
Yeah,
but good. I mean, you do kind of have ideas and just make things happen a lot, though.
I do. And you do fix things and lift things. And we have these perceptions for a reason,
right.
But we also do have limits. Some of my ideas are crap and they just blow up in our face. So that happens too.
That does happen sometimes.
Anyways.
You got a good winning percentage so far though.
Yeah. That's too funny. Well,
so nervous system regulation.
Yeah,
This is an exciting conversation because I think it is so powerful and so empowering as you understand. We talk a lot about learning the language of your nervous system because our nervous system is constantly giving us feedback, giving us information of what we have experienced and what we are experiencing and the connection of those two. Yeah. So sometimes we just don't listen and we're not on the same page. So we interpret things as threatening or scary or out of control. And really, it's just information that our body's given us saying, hey, this is what's going on. We need to do something different. And so I think it's really empowering when we are able to see how our nervous system communicates to us and then learn that, oh, I have some control to work with my nervous system rather than being overcome by it and the response, the reactions. And so, yeah, by the end of this episode, I'm hoping that I think that they'll at least feel empowered as you're listening.
So in that empowerment, a little tiny slice of education will be helpful. This whole theory of nervous system regulation originally comes from something called the polyvagal theory. And Stephen Porges is I think he's a doctor, right?
I think so.
I can't remember his qualifications, if he's a psychologist or a doctor, an MD. But anyways, he realized the different states of the body and the nervous system. And he's been talking and teaching on this for years. And someone came along, Deb Dana, she has several books and trainings. But this book we really love. It's called Anchored. It's her newest book. And she kind of took the really clinical, heady stuff that Stephen Porges kind of built around this in this polyvagal theory, and she puts it to really user-friendly use. And so we really appreciate that. And honestly, that's what we want to do. Obviously, we're not researchers, but being in the field of actually working with people, we want to make this field of regulation accessible and understandable, because if it's all just these really heady concepts, how's it going to impact your day-to-day? How's that actually going to give you a bigger window of tolerance where your body can regulate and not feel so out of control all the time? It's not. Right. So hopefully this episode will help give you those tangible, understandable data points to make sense of this.
Yeah, and the importance of understanding it, because it's being activated constantly and, and affecting how you're experiencing everything.
Right. Regardless of if you know the word regulation, you have a nervous system that is daily, tiny millisecond by millisecond, interpreting data in your environment and giving you a sense of safety or unsafety. This is continually happening.
Yeah. So let's start off with, what are the 3 states?
Yes, the 3 primary states. Okay.
So the first state, where we are able to interact and connect with people, is called safe and social. The next state is called sympathetic state. And so that's where we feel that fight or flight response. So we feel stressed, we feel anxious, heart racing, breathing shallow. And then the third one is shutdown. And that's where we feel shut down. So that may feel a lot lethargic, depressed, like a brain fog, fuzzy thinking, hard to connect thoughts, or maybe you're connecting thoughts, but you feel like you just can't even speak the words. You feel heavy, your body feels heavy, just like it's frozen. Maybe frozen's a bad word because it can be confusing with another state, a mixed state, but just like very heavy. Paralyzed, that's a good word. And lethargic. So those are the 3 main states. The vagus nerve is the largest cranial nerve, and it starts at the base of your brainstem and goes all the way down to the base of your spine, and then branches off to almost every organ in your body. And so it's very important. And it's constantly taking information from your body to your brain, from your brain to your body. The top of it of that vagus nerve is where it's controls that safe and social nervous system state. And so that affects access to your facial expressions. It affects your tone of voice. It affects the muscles in your ear and what tone that you're narrowing in on. So if you're safe and social, you're looking for like the mid-tone range of invitation and happy and fun, and is looking for that to create a story. But it's like, I'm safe, so I'm listening and looking for that range. It also gives you a range of expressions of smiling, of happy, kind of softens your face, and it gives you access to a vocal reciprocity.
Vocal prosody.
Vocal prosody. Thank you. Where it's like more of a singing. When you're talking, you have a flow to to your voice rather than a monotone. So that's like the safe and social. So let's just talk about that.
So this is why you can be in a conversation, you've probably heard for years, oh, body language is way more communication than words. It's like 90%. This is why, because when you're in a conversation with someone, your nervous system is detecting their nervous system state. It's like this honing device that can really hone in and figure out where they're at. So they could be saying the perfect words, and yet you will sense maybe a little bit of a flat affect, or you will sense a fake smile. You can't even, it's imperceptible if you were to point to what it is, but you can look at them and tell if they're being genuine, if they're actually seething with anger underneath their proper smile, if they're shut down and disconnected from their body. So yes, they're sitting there right in front of you, saying that maybe even the right things, but they're gone. Their eyes have a blankness to them. All of that is interaction in the nervous system with the vagus nerve, in the facial muscles and tendons and facial organs.
Yeah.
And this is absolutely fascinating that so much can be communicated just there.
And so if you're in safe and social, you're giving off that safe and social messages of, I'm safe, let's connect. And your body's looking for that. But like Lauren was saying, if the person you're talking to doesn't have those safe and social expressions, then your body moves from that safe and social to a protective state of the sympathetic or shutdown.
Yeah. And just to clarify, it's all autonomic,
yes,
meaning it's involuntary. So that's why even they're trying to show they're okay, but their internal autonomic nervous system is telling a different story, and you're picking up on that. So these are all happening on a subconscious level. Yeah.
And like your body is interpreting the messages that you're picking up in 0.05 seconds. So it's picking it up and creating meaning that quickly. So before you're conscious of it, your body's already feeling, ooh, something's off here, or, ooh, I feel so comfortable with this person. This person feels so safe, and your shoulders drop and relax. All of that is happening on an autonomic nervous system, and that's the information that's going back and forth in the vagus nerve of telling it, this is what you're feeling. Okay, this is the meaning that we're making based on previous experiences. So this is the state that you need to go into. I think it was Stephen Porges that said it's maladaptive to be in a safe and social state if you're not feeling safe and social. That's not a quote, but
if you're not safe.
Yeah, if you don't feel safe, it's maladaptive to be in that safe and social state. So your body will go into that protective state if it's not feeling safe. Yeah. And so what does safe and social look like for you?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Let's describe that more before we talk about the survival states.
Yeah.
So for me, safe and social, I just feel what I would have considered peace. Like my body feels at ease. My muscles don't feel heightened and alert. They just feel totally neutral. I feel open and curious. I have access to hope. Things don't feel dark and hopeless. I have a reasonable access to hope, depending on the situation. What would be a reasonable hope in that situation. I feel light. I feel happiness.
Like, where do you feel lightness?
I feel.
That might be a weird question, but I know where I feel the lightness.
Yeah, I think I probably feel that in my chest. There's like an openness and not a constriction and not a heaviness there. My breathing feels unforced. I feel like I can enjoy things more. Things feel more HD. This has taken time to cultivate too, but flowers look more beautiful. The sunset looks more vibrant. I'm able to enjoy little moments like holding your hand or feeling a hug from one of my kids. Like I'm able to be more in the experience. I'm more
Yes.
embodied
More
when I'm
present.
in safe and social, more present, more there. My thoughts feel like they're going at an average, moderate pace. They don't feel shut down and clouded. They don't feel ramped up and spastic.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I could have openness to adventure or to trying something new. I can see people in a light that doesn't feel harsh. Like I'm able to look at a situation with balance, like understanding why they may have done what they did, and also, just not seeing people as enemies. That doesn't mean I'm going to tolerate their behavior necessarily, but able to just see people in a less reactive way when I'm in safe and social.
Yeah. Like even you talking about it, I feel myself like just relaxing and like wanting to smile and just enjoying listening to you talk about enjoying life. Like it's contagious. Like, and that's called like, and there's a scientific word of neuroception. That message and that meaning that I'm picking up is my neuroception is picking up on, oh, she's safe. Oh, yeah, listen to what she's talking about. And then, oh, yeah, feeling that deep breath. I'm feeling the openness. Just feeling relaxed. Yeah. I love
so what's
that.
it feel like for you?
Yeah, I love, that's a little bit what it feels like. Just that access to the softness of my face, smiling. The access to like be able to take a deep breath. Like when I'm feeling safe and social, I just want to like, it just feels so cleansing.
Yeah.
Opening up my chest, like just opens up my chest. I feel that lighter and openness in my chest. I don't feel the tension in my shoulders and neck. The thoughts, yeah, they're just, it's like they're passing by, but they're not overwhelming. And it's also not, it's not a slow fogginess, and it's not a fast, overwhelming fogginess. It's just, yeah, interesting. Yeah, being able to be more in the present in the moment, see people, just like enjoy like our kids, the beauty, nature, the sounds of, like this morning it was raining, and just being able to listen to the rain and not jump up and run off to start my day, but just being able to be in the moment. And in that safe and social state is also where our bodies heal.
Yeah.
And I think that's also just a really important part of the importance of being able to learn how to get anchored in that safe and social, because we're going to get pushed out of that safe and social, be dysregulated, but learning how to come back into it so you can spend time and let your body feel safe, heal, recover, rest. That's the difference between going on vacation and being stressed about it and and coming back and like, oh man, I feel like I just worked another 6 months. That was supposed to help me relax. That's because your nervous system state wasn't able to get back into wasn't able to access safe and social enough.
Yeah.
You were still stressed. So you weren't able to recover and heal.
Right. Yeah, it's different than just relaxing. Like you could have a very relaxed life, like don't do much, don't have a lot of work on your plate, do a lot of entertaining things, movies, video games. But if you're not in the safe and social state, you can actually be doing nothing and still be in a survival state.
Yep.
So it's less about what you're doing and more about what's happening on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more noticing your body's experience in the moment.
Yeah.
That's what we call embodiment.
Mm.
It's not just watching a movie and disconnecting and dissociating and not being present.
Yeah.
It's watching the movie and letting your body experience the joy of watching the movie,
Mm.
or going on a walk, not just going on a walk for exercise, but going on a walk to exercise and enjoy your body and notice what your body's doing on that walk and
Mm.
experiencing on that walk. So it's a very much a present embodied experience that gives that extra health benefit,
Mhm.
emotional benefit, mental health benefit, psychological benefit, physiological benefit,
Across the board,
across the
totally.
board.
And just so you know, as you're hearing this, you might be feeling some discouragement rising as you
Mhm.
realize this state is very foreign to you. We work with a lot of people that say, I'm not sure I've ever been in that state,
Yeah.
or I don't really have a good idea of what it feels like. I've only experienced it here and there. And that is so discouraging to realize you've lived X amount of years on this earth, and the prime state of the human nervous system, you've experienced very little. It's a huge loss. There's grief there's pain there. And there might even be shame. You might think, what is wrong with me? Like Luke and Lauren are talking about this state, and I just do not experience that. So just so you know, for us personally, this has only been the last couple of years of our lives
Yeah.
that we've even started to gain access to experiencing this state. This is very new for us. And this is why we're so passionate about it, because we both in our own ways lived disembodied lives our entire lives. I relate, well, let's talk about the other states and then we can tell them
Yeah.
which we connect with
Yeah.
more.
So the next is sympathetic state. And the part of the vagus nerve that controls the sympathetic state is part in your chest. So it controls your heart, your lungs. And so this is where you feel that fight or flight response. So if your neuroception is you're picking up that someone's not safe and social, but maybe even harmful in that moment or in relation to experiences you've had in the past, your body's like, okay, I remember feeling this wasn't good. You need to either fight or flight. And so it sends your body full of stress hormones, of cortisol and uh, adrenaline. Thank you. I know this. And your body prepares for a physical altercation, as if someone was attacking you or someone was chasing you. But a lot of times you're just like sitting at a table or sitting in the car or
trying to go to sleep,
writing an email, and all of a sudden your body is flooded with a stress and you feel so threatened and so unsafe. You feel shaky and jittery and your thoughts start racing and your breathing starts getting shallow and you're just feeling, oh my gosh, like I don't want to do this. And here your thoughts aren't hopeful and dreaming of future and adventure. It's like survival. What do I need to do? And it might be, I need to run away. I need to avoid, I'll do this later. I can't finish this. I need to distract myself. So that's that flight energy. It might be fight or, oh, I'm going to tell them off. They're going to hear from me. And you want to just feel this desire to fight. That's just your body saying, that doesn't mean that you're an angry, aggressive person. That's your body saying, in order to survive in this situation, what we have learned is this is the best response to keep you safe. And so it prepares your body for battle.
Yeah.
And so in this state, our body's it's filled with this energy to do this action. I heard it explained kind of like somebody pulls in front of you, you're driving and someone pulls in front of you. Your body has this response of flight. So you get this energy, you turn the steering wheel extremely fast and avoid the car or the person. That's why it has to be happen in 0.05 seconds, because you have to have that reaction. And your body gave you the energy to make sure that you got out of that situation. And you use that energy. And your body's like, whew, I gave you the energy, you used the energy. Whew, now I have to breathe and relax before I feel safe and social again. But what if you're writing an email and you have that same feeling? And so you're just sitting here and you're just typing. You don't actually do anything. Your body's like, you have this energy, you need to get rid of it. You're feeling scared, you're feeling threatened, but you're not having to move. You don't have to run away from anybody, you don't have to fight anybody. And you're writing this email and you're still feeling scared. You still feeling threatened. Then you write the email and then you're waiting. You're waiting for this email, the response to this email. So you're still feeling threatened. So your body still says you're not safe. Here's the energy you need, just in case when it's ready. It's unpredictable, but we have to be ready. So what happens to all that energy that your body's given you to release and turn that steering wheel or run away or fight, but you don't have to.
Right.
All that energy gets stored in your body.
And makes you feel the terrible way that you feel.
Yes. And your brain starts becoming hypervigilant and saying, I don't know when this danger is coming, but it's coming. So let's look for it. So when we're in this state, rather than looking for connection, we're looking for threat.
That's right.
So the muscles in our ears change to look for the lower tones, the threatening tones. And so we're looking for it. We're hearing it. We're looking for the facial expressions, and we're seeing we're more hypervigilant and misinterpreting maybe even these messages, because we have this negative bias. Our brains have this negative bias, especially in this hypervigilant danger state. And so we're reading and we're looking for that danger, so that your body's like, we have to find any danger possible because you're not safe.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're becoming a little bit more irritable because you're not feeling safe and you're feeling attacked by everybody, feeling more agitated because you have all of this energy building up and you're feeling not comfortable. You're feeling overwhelmed, and you're feeling scared.
Yeah.
All that, you're also building stress and tension. Your body's getting inflamed because it's feeling threatened and having all these stress hormones flooded for extended period of times.
And in the short term, this is a appropriate response to true danger. So our survival states are not like
Bad.
Errors that just,
Yeah.
oops, this happened. They developed very intentionally to keep our species alive.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to happen and then go down, happen and then go down. You're not supposed to live in this continuous state of survival stress and energy in your body. So like Luke's describing, these physiological things that start beginning to happen to your body when you're in this survival state, often being triggered into it, when you are in it and stay in it for years, what happens is the impact of the stress response not turning off is chronic pain and chronic illness begin to develop, because the effects of that potent survival stress and energy in the systems of your body begin to dysregulate everything. So the hormonal system dysregulates. The inflammatory mechanisms are no longer balanced. Certain genes are switched on. If you look at the field of epigenetics, our genes are not a fixed code. There are genes on top of our genes that turn on and off depending on, essentially depending on our environmental stressors. And so all of these changes begin to happen in the systems of the body because of the stress response never turning off.
Hmm.
And that's when, after years of that, or sometimes even a short period of that, if it's really, really intense, can be enough to trigger, people will start developing in these chronic health conditions, chronic pain, PTSD, anxiety disorders, these very persistent concerns that make life very hard to function with. And it's the buildup of the effects of a body that's not designed to be in survival stress mode. It's not designed to stay there. And because of childhood traumas, environmental situations out of our control, being powerless, harmful situations, unsupportive situations, neglect, because of these things, the body shifts into that stress response state, and then it stays there. And our work is helping people turn that stress response off in the body, and the beautiful repair that the nervous system and body do when the stress response is down. Like Luke said, safe and social is where we heal. It's where we restore and repair. But if you're never in that place, how does your body ever heal? How do you recover?
Yeah.
So just wanted to show there's acute effects, day-to-day, moment-to-moment effects, and then those long-term effects of being in a survival state.
And like we said earlier, it's maladaptive for your body to go into safe and social if it doesn't feel safe.
Right.
And so if it is feeling unsafe because of all your story and experiences that says you haven't felt safe, you haven't been safe, we need to be hypervigilant, then it would be wrong for your body to say, you're not safe, but let's go to safe and social.
Yeah.
We have to learn to help our bodies feel safe, help our bodies find safety, find environments that are safe, find people that are safe, and then also even being safe for yourself. Because like we also have those inner critics of that we've learned adaptations to people please, to be perfectionistic, and all of that is stressing our body of, oh, you didn't do it right. Good job, Luke. You're such a failure. Your body feels that stress, that criticism, that condemnation, that judgment. And so you become not a safe place for your body. So your body is constantly like, okay, I don't want to fail Luke. So let me be hypervigilant and make sure that Luke is perfect. Okay, well, you screwed up there. Fix that. And so it's constantly criticizing you in order to, because it feels like it needs to help you survive. Being perfect is where you find safety, but it's a maladaptive adaptation where you experience some sort of safety in your life of, oh, my parents could accept me when I was perfect. They didn't do it well, but at least they weren't yelling at me, or at least they paid attention to me when I was perfect. So your body now experiences that as safe, but you're not safe, and you're only hypervigilant in order to chase that safety. And so it's even in learning how to be compassionate on yourself. Like, whew, yeah, you struggled today, but it's okay. You're human. You made that mistake, but who doesn't make mistakes? You're not perfect, or yep, you're learning, and it's just having that compassion. And as Lauren was talking, I was even reminded, we won't go into this, but even generational trauma affects us. And so maybe you say like, oh, I had a good childhood, or I've had this problem since I was a kid. Like I didn't really experience that much before I was one. Well, it could also, what did your parents experience?
Yeah.
What did their parents experience? It's like there's epigenetics, but there's also trauma gets stored in our genes and passed down. And so that just, when I heard that, that kind of just made my brain kind of explode a little bit. But there's a lot of research out for that too. So just all this information is not to shame you or make you feel hopeless or powerless, but just a language to understand oh, my body is responding the way it's supposed to, or way it's interpreting that it's supposed to. How can I work with my body to reprogram it so
Yeah.
that it can find safety accurately? So I can reprogram my neuroception, that compass that says, where is safety? With trauma, safety says perfectionism. Let's reprogram it. Let's yeah, give that new information that actually safety is over here. And as we work with our bodies, it can become a true north of what safety is. Were you going to say something, hon?
I think that you're passionate about healing.
Maybe just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Almost every day we just look at
Yeah.
each other and say, like, this is the best work ever. Like, this work
Yeah.
matters so much. And I just always hear it when you talk about how these processes work and how rewiring is possible. It's your passion is so real, and we need it. So what is this state? What does sympathetic activation feel like for you?
Ooh. For me, it feels like racing thoughts. It feels very kind of like on the edge. It's very agitated, irritable, white knuckling, like trying to hold it together, but being on the edge of losing my mind. I feel like it's like my skin is crawling. I just can't. I don't feel comfortable in my body. I feel jittery and agitated, restless. Don't have access to like play, or play like, yeah, I'm just more serious. I'm more negative. I'm like pessimistic, not very hopeful. I see all the issues and problems that are here, real and perceived, and hopeless, and like, and this isn't going to change unless this and this happens, and I have to do this and this, but I can't do this and this. I feel overwhelmed by this and this, and it just heart racing, shallow breathing. It is just an unpleasant experience when you're there for a long period of time.
Totally.
How
Yeah.
about for you?
Something I've just kind of noted lately is I almost feel like when I'm in sympathetic, I almost feel like there's something behind me, like a force just kind of pushing me, like the urgency and pressure of the now in sympathetic is very strong for me. Everything feels catastrophically not right now. And I feel a tightness in my chest, like I can't take a full breath. I get tension, tightness up my heat, ache, tension up my neck and my back, into my head. I'll often get a headache if I spend too much time in sympathetic. I used to grind my teeth a lot, which was a symptom of sympathetic. Insomnia is often very common when you're in sympathetic a lot. I feel like this is funny, but if I'm sitting, I feel like my legs will be tense and I'll notice it and I'll just like let them go. But that's usually like I'll start getting tense, I guess, from the top and the bottom of my body. The tension will just rise together and feeling like that that like stuck pressured ball inside your chest that you just can't escape. Like nothing will ease it, it feels like. And the thoughts and the worries and the pressure and the impending doom. All of it. Because humans have the same nervous systems, we can relate to those states. We all can, even if we experience different ones more often, we can always relate.
Yeah. I also, I just, as you were talking, remembered, one for me, I see this common with a lot of people of being very reactive. Like if I feel very stressed and overwhelmed and you're like, hey, babe, can you do this? It's just like, what? Like, how could you ask me to do this? And it becomes like like, it's not an invitation for connection or for help. It's it's an invitation to be a failure and to like, I want you to be overwhelmed and I want you to fail. So I'm going to give you one more thing to do. And and I see this a lot with people, and it's just like, but looking back on that, I'm like, oh wow, that was just really sympathetic.
Yeah.
Because my neuroception, based on my story, is you're trying to set me up for failure.
Yeah.
And so you're the enemy. So I would kind of take my frustration out on you and just like, why would you do this to me?
Yeah.
So there's that aspect of it too, of just feeling like everybody's against you, or out to get you, or people aren't
Seeing
safe
that
because
change. Sorry.
that's okay. Because your nervous system is looking through a lens of an old lens of what people used to treat you and how to interact with you and where you could find safety. And so that was a lens I was looking through.
Mhm.
So what were you saying?
Just seeing that lens change has been incredible. Like when you live with someone who has a small window of tolerance, that's what Luke's describing, very
Yeah.
easily pushed into overwhelm, very
Yeah.
easily dysregulated. When you live with someone like that, you learn to walk on eggshells because you don't, if you care for them, you don't want to overwhelm them. And if you have codependent tendencies like I do, which I'm also had so much progress in, I'm very proud of that, but you really cater to their overwhelm and their window of tolerance. And so you kind of, oh, I'll ask when this, I'll ask then, and maybe things won't feel so frustrating then or so overwhelming. So maybe he'll say yes. But now that your window of tolerance is so much bigger and you're regulated so much more often, it's just so fun to be like, hey, I need this done. And there's no, it's just, it is what it is. I had a request,
Yeah.
you heard the request, you gladly did the request. Like it's so much less messy
Mm-hmm.
than when we're in those survival states. That's when it gets all, that's when a tiny thing can turn into a massive explosion.
So the next third stage is shutdown. So that the part of the vagus nerve that controls shutdown is down in your stomach, abdomen area. So this all, so in shutdown, we feel very hopeless. We feel very powerless. We feel like what we feel now is never going to change. There's life sucks, life is hard, and that's just the reality of it is, and we have no power to change it. And so we feel very depressed. We feel very lethargic. We don't feel very motivated. We don't have a lot of energy. We could sleep. Take a 2-hour nap and feel like we need another nap. And our body's just saying, when we go to shutdown, our body's giving us the message that it's not that we're broken, but this is the best, we have learned that this is the best option for this situation. This isn't safe, so we're not going to go to safe and social. We're going to isolate, and you can't fight it and you can't get away from it. We've tried that, or it's just not possible. So our nervous system shuts down and says, this way we don't have to feel the pain that you're experiencing. So it's an adaptation to say, this is big, this is heavy, this is hard, and we have no tools to deal with it. So let's dissociate. Let's just cut off. And when we cut off the bad, we also have to cut off the good. We
Yeah.
can't, there's not a switch for bad emotions and good emotions. It's emotions, boom. And so that's why we don't have access to hope and possibilities, and we don't pursue connection, because it's the only thing safe is to be alone and to not feel.
Mhm.
And there's no hope, because hope is threatening. Hope, and it's just that that's an emotion that your body's like, we can't do that. We can't handle this. So let's just shut it all down. And it's a scary place to be. It's a hard place to be.
Mhm.
Do you have anything to say about that one?
Yeah,
Before
you
we
explained that
finish?
really well. It really is a place of immobilization. Sympathetic is considered a mobilized state of survival, and shutdown is considered an immobilized state of survival. And like Luke said, they both serve different purposes. So if sympathetic's not cutting it for you, or if you've been in it for so long and your body's just like done, it cannot keep generating all that sympathetic survival energy, it will drop you down into shutdown, and you will experience a deep, dark depression, or it might look like burnout. Some people would call it burnout. Some people would call it adrenal fatigue. There's many social, cultural names for this, but essentially it's an immobilized nervous system. And a caveat here is it doesn't necessarily mean you're in a dark bedroom alone. Some people live in a place of shutdown and work their 9 to 5, even maybe go out for drinks, have social responsibilities that they complete, but they are disconnected and disembodied in a way that they're there, but they're not fully there. They're functioning in this kind of robotic state of being human, because the days when they had access to their emotions were far too painful. So it's, again, the adaptation of finding a new way.
So it's like a person that is emotionally disconnected.
Yeah.
So if you're in a relationship with somebody, it's that they don't have access to emotion. They don't meet you on that level of emotions. They don't share emotions. They don't have capacity for your emotions. And there's even like going out and having drinks might be a sign of disembodied, of like shut down, because alcohol is going to help you numb those emotions and those feelings.
Yeah.
So they can go to work and function, but they're not feeling anything. And once they start feeling something, they medicate it.
Yeah.
And shut it off.
And I would say that I've seen people even create like a persona over that shutdown truth, like where they really are, their core is actually shut down, but they have this like veil of a persona over it, because the world doesn't want to see flat-faced, shut down, immobilized people. The world wants you to show up with energy for your job and excitement to get this project done. And, oh yeah, my life is so great. These are my friends, yada, yada, yada. So someone can very much, if this is yourself, if you're connecting to this at all, you can have a persona that seems okay, because humans are amazingly adaptive. We can play the part that we need to play. But on the outside, when you strip off that persona that socially acceptable,
on the inside,
on the inside, you're going to come face to face with where your nervous system is actually at. And it may very well be completely immobilized, with little access to emotion. So those are the two primary survival states, is sympathetic and shutdown. And then safe and social is the state of human flourishing. This is the state of regulation. And maybe we'll talk about the mixed states another time, so we don't confuse people too much.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good idea. So shutdown for me feels, I can like, I felt that shutdown of like I'm frozen. No thoughts are coming in my brain. I can't move. I can't even verbalize what I need or what I think. And it's just, it's very heavy. And yeah, I'm just not able to access a whole lot. And then I've also kind of, like you were just describing, lived that life of working, I'm going to school, being a decent husband and dad, but I have no access to what's going on inside of me. I get a very small window of tolerance, so I get overwhelmed quickly and try to medicate it, try to shut it down. And I was like jumping from sympathetic to shut down frequently. So no access to social, safe and social, almost no, but just finding ways to even maladaptive ways to jump me out of that shutdown to just function. So then I was in sympathetic and just irritable. But just, yeah, very, very disconnected of what's going on inside of me, what I'm feeling. No, very little emotional language. I would say early on, hard to be emotionally present with you. Like, I remember you were just like, you're here, but you're not here. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm physically here holding you, listening to you. But there was like a wall there of like, I can't access what I'm feeling. And it was almost like a shutting down again. I was able to move and be present and even say some things, but there was still, it was a very flat affect. So that's kind of what it would look like for me.
Yeah, and just you spent a lot of time there, and how helpful this would have been to know
Oh my
that that's what you were experiencing,
gosh.
because it was such an isolating experience for you. And then as a spouse, I would just be frustrated because it's like, where'd you go? Like, you're not here in
Yeah.
this conversation. We have this problem to solve, and you are a million miles away, and I can see it in your eyes.
Yeah.
We just didn't know. And I have so much compassion for those older versions of us, because it was
Yeah.
like trying to have a relationship without the language of relationship or humanness. We just didn't know.
Yeah, I as you say that, I just remember conversations we would have where you'd have, it was like, I interpret it as like a criticism of me, and I just shut down. Like, in those times, I would like, getting flat affect, and I was like, I could see you, but there was no thoughts going on. I was just terrified of, like, of rejection. And so you're like, we need to have this conversation, we need to talk about this. And I was just like, too much, shut down. And that scared you. It was just like, it was like system overload. In order to not explode, just shut down. Can't feel this. I remember just, yeah, that experience.
I have some vivid memories of like you laying on the bed, almost like a corpse, and me like being over you, trying to like almost in a movie scene of like pounding on your chest, like begging you to come back. And this goes into attachment and how I was triggered, because I have an anxious attachment. So when you are avoidant, even though that's not a choice, it's a autonomic thing your body does to put you into shutdown. So then I'm like pounding on your chest, like grabbing your face, just devastated that I feel like you're gone, because it truly feels like a death. Like, even though you know they're not going to stay there forever. And in some relationships, maybe you don't know that. Maybe that's all that your partner has been in, or all that your parent has been in. It's a heartbreaking state to be in. It's devastating relationally, it's devastating personally. And I'm just so relieved that we know now that the body needs support and safety to be able to climb back up out of that hole. And it can.
Yeah, because I'd feel so helpless and powerless of like, I don't know what I'm feeling and I don't know how to stop what I'm feeling. Like, again, it was autonomic. It wasn't like I chose to shut down. It was just like,
Yeah.
this is where I'm at. I don't know how to get out of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, but now having language of like, oh, I'm shut down. Okay. This is my nervous system. What does it need? Okay, let's give it a little bit. What is it afraid of? Okay, is that true? No. It was as I'm learning to not be so my nervous system's learning not to be so reactive. It's allowing my frontal lobe to come back online and say, okay, let's assess this, rather than just the survival brain just running the show. So that language has been so helpful to self-regulate. Oh, I think it was, I remember what I was going to say before, something about codependency. You were saying you had codependency and you needed to help me, and I learned that I was helpless and so needed you to help me.
Yep.
And so kind of like that, it comes back to the like shutdown is I didn't have the confidence or the language, even the words that I could do anything. So it was almost like, you need to save me, Lauren. And you didn't have the language, so you couldn't save me, or you would try, and it would just perpetuate that I'm helpless, I need Lauren to save me. But now, learning that I'm not helpless, I'm not powerless, and yes, Lauren's here for me, but I can also empower myself and own this and help self-regulate. And so once I self-regulate, then we can co-regulate. And it's not codependency, it's co-regulation.
Right. Good word. I'm glad you remembered that. That was really good. I'll just share quickly that shutdown for me has not been a familiar experience. Most of my dysregulation has been sympathetic, but in the last several years, I've experienced a lot of really debilitating grief and sorrow. And I have become much more acquainted with shutdown, which I'm glad I understand it better now for our relationship, because that was something that was more common for you, much less common now of an experience, but I understand it now because I felt it, and you can't give words to that. You have to feel it and know how incredibly crippling it is, and just utterly paralyzing. And so I feel like it's almost like the blinds going down, making the room that was light dark. I'll even see, my eyes will even blur. Like I won't even be able to focus my eyes when I feel really far down, shut down. I'll just like blur over, and all I can see is that blurry, in a daze vision. Very heavy. My limbs will feel like hundreds of pounds. Any movement feels impossible in deep shutdown. And it's almost like a preparing for death. Like it's almost like it's ending now.
Yeah.
It's over. That's the story that you're hearing because of the state that your body's in. And it is so potent. And we have so much compassion for you if this is the state you experience.
And you just remind me that these states also are like on a spectrum. Like we described the functioning shutdown person, and then there's also instances where you can't get off the bed.
Yeah.
Like it's blurry. And so there's spectrums, and there's sympathetic spectrum of a raging, angry, dysregulated person that's off the handle, and somebody that's just anxious a lot.
But you would never know from the outside.
Everywhere, right. And you're just everywhere in between. So you just mentioned like that's the story that you're hearing in that state. Another thing that we really appreciate is the idea of story follows state. So can you explain that a little bit of what
Yeah,
you mean by that?
a story follow state is so helpful. This idea, just memorize that statement and see how it starts to play out in your life. So the story is the narrative that our cognitive brain is believing, and where it comes from is the state that we're in. So first, the state we're in is the reality, and then from that flows the narrative or the story that we are believing. So the same exact day could be happening, but depending on which state I'm in, I'm going to have a very different story about this day. So really quickly, let me think of an example. So the day is, I have a lot of meetings. I have to talk to a boss. This is hypothetical because we're each other's bosses now, which is awesome to have a boss that you're in love with that is super safe and amazing. Anyways, I have this boss I have to go meet with that doesn't make me feel comfortable. My kids are totally acting out, and I'm feeling, and I have, I'm in a fight with a friend. So in safe and social, what I might feel about that day is, wow, I've got a lot going on. I'm just going to pace myself. I'm capable of doing this. And we will see how today goes. So the story from my state is one of, I'm capable, it's a lot, it's kind of overwhelming, but we got this. Now, the story coming from sympathetic activation is, oh my gosh, this is just utterly overwhelming. I cannot get through this day. Maybe you start getting angry because it feels so frustrating and overwhelming. You feel irritable. This thing with my boss is going to go terrible. I'm probably going to lose my job. This is just ridiculous. These expectations they have on me are so unfair. My kids are all falling apart. No one has kids like mine. My kids are the worst. There's no way that there's worse kids than mine. And this relationship with my friend, whatever, just screw it. I don't need her anymore. It's not going to work out. So never mind, forget it. That might be the story that's coming from the state of sympathetic. And then in shutdown, it could be, so again, same day, same scenario. Okay. What would shutdown say? Shutdown might say, if you're in deep shutdown, it might say, I'm calling in sick. There's no way that I can do what is before me today. I'm going to let 1 million people down, but I cannot face this day. So that could be one variation. The other could be the more functional shutdown, like you were just describing, that continuum. And this could be, wow, this day is utterly overwhelming. I don't even know where to start. I feel so much brain fog. I feel so out of it. I just don't even feel like myself today. But I'm just going to trudge along and go to each of these meetings and finish these appointments. It doesn't matter anyways. It's not going to make a difference. Meeting with my boss isn't going to help anything, but I'm just going to do it. And you know what? I can't even think about my friend. This is just so overwhelming to me. I have so much heartbreak here that my friends just cut me off, and my kids are a disaster.
She doesn't care.
She doesn't care about me. I know that relationship is just hopeless, and my kids are probably going to all end up being criminals. But what's the point? There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing. I'm totally disempowered, and I can't believe this is my life every single day, but this is my life type of story.
Yeah, I think those are good examples, and just giving language of what it might look like.
Yeah.
I just want to say with that safe and social, it's not about ignoring the reality and just saying living in the clouds and just like everything's hunky-dory and beautiful. Yeah, I'm gonna get fired today, but I love getting fired. It's like, it's not living without reality. It's being in reality, but your body has access to maybe even change that experience. Or, yeah, my boss was a jerk before, but you know what? I'm going to come into this in a different way and talk to him a different way, or offer something different. And you know, let's see what this happens. Or maybe I just quit my job and get something where I really enjoy it.
Right.
Maybe I don't have to be in this job anymore.
Right.
So it's not like everything's going to be fixed. It's I have the power to be cared for, and I matter, and I can become happy.
Yeah.
I have the choice to that.
It's that
And I can
empower.
become happy with it. Yeah.
I can make choices. I have autonomy that I can creatively problem solve
Yeah.
and find the life that I need. It's empowered. Whereas in sympathetic, you're grasping for power, and in shutdown, you're disempowered. So we have a different association with power in all three of the states.
Can you show some of those?
So we came up with a few just helpful ways of using symbols to know our three states. So think about what comes to your mind when you hear the three states, because that will help you remember it more. So safe and social, when you use just a hand representing the nervous system or the body even, safe and social is like an open, receptive, non-tense hand. Sympathetic is a tightly squeezed fist that is all tense and all I'm trying to think of another adjective. Tense. We'll just say tense.
Yeah.
And then shut down is a very limp, untense, flaccid hand. So safe and social. Here, I'll turn it this way. Sympathetic is the fist, and then shut down. And that's been helpful for people to grasp that better. Another one is weather. I don't think this was original to us. Sunny with some clouds, that's safe and social. Stormy is sympathetic. And then fog, a thick fog is shut down. So that's another way. Using imagery, and even you can say like who I feel like I am in each state. So you can make this, accustom this to yourself. Like maybe in safe and social, I'm like superwoman. And then in sympathetic, I'm Hulk. And then in shutdown, who could shutdown be? I picked something I know nothing about. Why did I pick superheroes?
I don't know who shutdown would be.
Yeah, basically a paralyzed in a coma superhero, we'll say.
Captain America when he was frozen.
Okay,
there we go. There you go.
Moral of the story, you can accustom it. You can customize the states in your mind with symbols, and that will help you remember. So yeah, that was a lot.
It's a lot. And as we wrap up, I just want to give a little bit of a few tools of what to do in these states. And so everybody's body is different. So you're going to have to play with them and figure out what works for your body. And there's tons and tons of resources on YouTube of just like nervous system regulation practices, and you'll be flooded. But basically in sympathetic, you want to try to use the energy. So you want to try to regulate the nervous system. So you could start trying to do some deep breathing and just slowing your breathing down intentionally. And as you're doing that, noticing, trying to become aware of the body's sensations. So as you're breathing, where do you feel a tightness? Okay, breathe out that tightness. Just become aware of where your body's feeling things. Just attune to it. You can put your hand on your stomach and your chest. Can't really see it on the video, but just one hand on your stomach, one hand on your chest, and just feel the moving of your chest and your stomach as you're breathing. And just hold it and just notice what that feels like as you're breathing and as you're holding your stomach and your chest. And that can be very regulating. You're just becoming more embodied and more attuned to your body. And you're slowing things down and you're bringing safety. And that touch, your body doesn't interpret physical touch any differently when you touch yourself than it does when you're like being hugged by a loved one or being held by a loved one. That comforting hold self, like another one is maybe one hand on your armpit, one on your shoulder, and you just feel that squeeze of yourself, that hug, because you're communicating safety to your body. And so for a shutdown, your body needs kind of a jump start. So it actually needs energy. And so struggle with this is a lot of times you feel shut down. So you don't feel like going and jumping around.
Mhm.
So a simple thing is just trying to give slight pressure somewhere. So even if you're sitting in the chair, you're just like putting slight pressure into your feet. And just notice the pressure and the connection between your feet and the floor and what that feels like on your feet. What does it feel like in your calves? What does it feel like in your knees? And just moving up, what does it feel like in your thighs? How's that connection moving up your body? And you can even, if you can, and maybe put some pressure with your hands too. And so you're just noticing the connection of, okay, my elbows are also on the chair. My hands are pushing up against each other. So you feel that pressure and you're just noticing where you can put a little bit of pressure and where there's maybe a little connection with the couch, with the floor, with the seat, and just giving a little bit of pressure into it. And then you're noticing what does that pressure change or shift in your body. And you're just being curious and you're just noticing. Just check in with those parts that are touching something and
Mhm.
just notice, is this bringing you up? Is this, are you feeling more alive? Is your thoughts becoming more clear? Do you have more access to your voice?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because once you start to get moving in shutdown, like once you do bring in that tiny bit of movement, like you're talking about, then you'll feel a little bit more access to bring in more. So maybe then grab your favorite playlist and put that on and just start rocking or swaying. Or maybe then you're like, okay, I feel like I could walk around the block. Or maybe I'm going to go get a cool drink that will stimulate my body back to life. So you want that for the hardest part is that first step when you're paralyzed.
and shut down.
But once you can, like Luke's saying, even if it's just pressure into the bed or into the floor, once you can start getting that ball of movement going rolling down the hill, then you can do something else that will help to awaken and create more soothing for that shutdown place,
Yep.
more active, more aliveness,
Well,
bringing in more life to that.
well, there is a kind of activity because in shutdown, in order to get to safe and social, you have to go through sympathetic.
Mhm.
And so in your shutdown, you might become angry. You're like, I thought I was supposed to go to safe and social. But actually, if you're shut down, you start feeling angry. It's okay, I'm going through it sympathetic. Okay, so now what do I need? So now I need to use that energy. Um,
Right.
so another thing with if you're doing that, you might just move your arms. If you feel like you fight something, just move your arms. If you feel like you need to run, move your legs.
Yep.
And notice I'm angry and I'm moving my arms. That connection of that emotion and that movement helps your body express the energy that I said gets stuck. Because being in shutdown, energy might be stuck, but it's then as you are regulating yourself up, your body is getting access to that emotion and saying, okay, if you want to do this, let's do this. So I'm angry. Okay, I'm angry. And I'm letting go of those, I'm releasing that energy. And just notice how that changes and how the sensations you get and see if you get access to that hope and safe and social. This all takes practice. This takes time. This takes awareness. This takes curiosity. This takes compassion. We're all in process and at different points in our journey. So just be patient with yourself and just explore and be curious. And if something doesn't work, don't be like, oh, my body's broken. It's like, oh, that doesn't work. There's hundreds of other practices to do that'll work. You just need to find what it needs for your body. Just like your body found adaptations to survive before that are no longer working, it needs to find another way to survive and feel safe.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is a lot of information. And don't feel like you need to get it all the first time through. Just whatever stuck with you, take it, run with it, process it. But it was, as you can see, a passionate topic for both of us. And it
Yeah.
is, there's books and books and books and videos on that stuff. So we didn't cover everything, but just an introduction.
Yeah, hopefully
to,
it's helpful for you guys.
yeah. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming back, and look forward to the future episodes. So keep listening. We got a lot more stuff coming.